Did you have any idea what it was going to be like, what you were in for?
No, no, but I didn't treat it as any different. I realized it could be different, and certainly when I would go to rallies where lots of people were drawn because of somebody else being there, as opposed to my being there, that was a very different experience than anything I'd ever seen before. But the rest of what I did was really a conversation, and started out in small living rooms. It's just a conversation, like 1,000 conversations I'd had before, and it was slightly different. People were a lot more interested in me than they are at home, and that was always nice. People periodically asked you what your favorite book was, which no one had ever asked me in my life before, and that kind of thing. But the conversations I had were pretty much like the conversations I had waiting in. I often talk about this. Those of you who are parents and do carpool lines know that it's really advantageous to get there early, so that you're not waiting in the line forever. So you get there early, and so you spend a few minutes talking to the other parents who are there, almost exclusively mothers, but other parents who are there. Pickup time for school is the same time as Talk of the Nation. And so you would be hearing something on Talk of the Nation, and you would be, it would really move you.
I'm sorry, it's Tell Me More in Washington, D.C.
During carpool time? Mm-hmm. Okay, well.
I'm big with carpool. But anyway.
The first time I met Ray Suarez, I said, if something happens to my husband, I've always said I'm marrying you, because he was so interesting listening to these things. But you'd get out of your car and you'd have these conversations. This was a continuation of the carpool line conversation that I had been having for years and years and years, just about a wider variety of things. So in that respect, it wasn't any different. The crowds over time, and particularly when John was the vice presidential nominee, got larger, but it was still the same conversation.
Except that people weren't photographing you for Vogue and all the women's magazines. And as the young lady, we had a meeting with student journalists earlier, and one of the young ladies asked, I think, one of the best questions of the day, which is, what's it like to have all these people in your business?
Yeah. And I think that the hard part, to go back to one of your first questions, the hard part is not to let that affect you, because you're just a vessel, a completely exchangeable vessel. They may be photographing you for Vogue today, but they're going to be photographing somebody else for Vogue tomorrow, and 2 years from now, no one will remember that you were there besides Michelle, And so if you begin to think that it's about you, or not just that you happen to be the place filler at that time, then you can do that crazy thing that we're talking about. But if you just think that, and think that the important thing you're doing is not that, but the important thing you're doing is having this conversation and trying to move people from where they're maybe sitting in a stagnant way to a place where they need to go, then that motivates you, as opposed to the Vogue or anything else. And it turns out not to be a whole lot different than the carpool line conversation.